you're in the midst of a divorce and then you have a wife that has a 15-week-old baby on the way is a huge thing. And I was very taken back, and it was hurt. And so at that point, I deleted it.
What if I told you that the Chris Watts case, a story you thought you knew completely, contains a web of lies so intricate that it took me over 2,000 pages of discovery documents to unravel? What if the very person law enforcement protected as their star witness had been systematically deceiving investigators from the moment she first spoke to them? On November 19th, 2018, Chris Watts received a life sentence without parole for murdering his pregnant wife Shanann and daughters Bella and Cece. If you watched my deep dive into the Chris Watts case last month, you'll remember how I broke down the horrific details of how he strangled Shanann in their bedroom, then drove her body along with his 2 daughters to an oil site where he would smother 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Cece before dumping their bodies in oil tanks. He also murdered his unborn son, Nico, who was just weeks away from being born. But in the 5 years since his conviction, disturbing evidence has emerged suggesting Watts may not have acted entirely alone. Today, I'm going to show you evidence that his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, has a dark past that she successfully concealed from everyone, including law enforcement, and why her web of deception runs far deeper than anyone imagined. Because no matter what you think you know about Nicole Kessinger, there's far more to this story than has ever been told. I've conducted a forensic evaluation of the entire discovery file, witness statements, audio recordings, and all available interviews. What I'll show you today provides a clearer understanding of why Chris Watts was so eager to accept that plea deal, effectively slamming the door on law enforcement's investigation. This includes information about Nicole Kessinger's hidden past that should have been scrutinized long before she became a protected, unvetted witness. Throughout those 2,000 pages of discovery, I found evidence of Chris Watts's concentrated effort to mislead and lie to law enforcement. Not to protect himself, but to protect someone else entirely. Before we proceed, I need to be absolutely clear. Chris Watts is exactly where he belongs. Nothing I present should be interpreted as providing him any benefit, excuse, or grounds for appeal. This episode has one purpose: the pursuit of justice. This case still matters because if someone evaded justice in connection with these murders, what's to stop them from doing it again? This analysis is based entirely on available facts and discovery evidence released by law enforcement, representing my professional opinion formed from decades of legal experience for one purpose: justice for Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico Watts. By the time Chris Watts left his first interrogation with Agent Graham Coder, law enforcement was confident he was responsible for his family's disappearance. They suspected his motivations were linked to an extramarital affair. While shaken by the interview's intensity, part of him likely still believed he could lie his way out of trouble. But time wasn't on his side. Less than 12 hours later, the systematic deconstruction of Chris Watts's web of lies would begin, revealing the monstrous iceberg hidden beneath a tsunami of deception. Earlier that Wednesday, August 15th, at 5 a.m., CBI agent Tammy Lee received a call from Anadarko's security manager, Tony Husky. He informed her about a relationship between a contracted employee who had exchanged suggestive emails with their primary suspect. Agent Lee would eventually receive those emails, and written on those pages were two names, Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger. While Chris was failing miserably at his polygraph test, Nicole Kessinger contacted law enforcement to confirm her connection to their case. The first meeting took place at Majestic View Park in Arvada, Colorado, with FBI agent Mark Lair, agent Philip Jones, Nicole Kessinger, and her father Dwayne Kessinger in attendance. Here's what's deeply troubling. Before law enforcement ever met with Nicole Kessinger, they had already designated her a protected witness. They gave her this status before obtaining any records, documentation, cell phone data, or anything that could definitively exclude her involvement in this crime. Before speaking to a single witness who could verify her stories, and before receiving any evidence that could eliminate her as a suspect, they had already decided to treat her as a protected asset. Law enforcement completely sidestepped the need to comprehensively verify that she was actually blameless. This occurred despite learning that Nicole Kessinger had already deleted vital material evidence from her phone, evidence that would never be recovered throughout the entire investigation. Over the past 5 years, Weld County District Attorney Michael Rourke went on record stating, "I have absolutely no reason to investigate Nicole Kessinger at this point in time. This is not a witch hunt." He completely dismissed all problematic claims about her possible involvement, asserting he had completed his job by securing Chris Watts' conviction. The first interview began with Nicole describing how she met Watts and their initial discussions about his relationship with Shanann, a name Nicole consistently and repeatedly refused to say throughout half a dozen law enforcement encounters. Instead, she chose to refer to her as that woman, her, or anything other than Shanann's actual name. Right out of the gate, within the first 2 minutes of their discussion, Nicole Kessinger told her first of numerous lies. Nicole explained to FBI agents that she believed Chris was in the final steps of a divorce that predated their involvement. Unfortunately for her, this story would change many times and didn't align with her Google searches. The most damning search occurred less than 3 weeks prior on July 24th, 2018. "Man, I'm having an affair with says he'll leave his wife." This doesn't sound like someone who believes Chris Watts' divorce was anywhere near final. Nicole very clearly told the FBI that she wasn't worried in any way about Shanann and the kids being missing on the 13th. She explained that it's completely normal in her world for friends and family to go hours or even days without communicating. There's absolutely nothing in her description where she expresses any concern, worry, fear, or alarm. But exactly one day after her interview with the FBI, Nicole Kessinger met with CBI agent Kevin Kobach. Her story concerning the events of Monday, August 13th, would radically change once she learned they were going to need her cell records. 6 days after the initial FBI interview, her story drastically changes from having no problem to conducting this Spanish Inquisition with Chris, asking him multiple times why he needed to go to survey 319 first thing Monday morning. I've noticed that whenever Nicole is about to tell a massive lie, she always precedes the revelation with pointless, detailed exposition. After completing her very effective gaslighting campaign, we learned that Nicole Kessinger texted Chris Watts on the same day he disposed of his entire family at Survey 319 and asked him to send her a picture of the site proving he was there. For those who haven't followed this case closely, Survey 319 is the oil site where Chris disposed of his entire family. Nicole Kessinger, on Monday night hours after he had committed this disgusting crime, texted him and told him to prove he was there. What do you think Agent Kobach said after Nicole dropped this bomb? If you guess nothing, then you win the grand prize, because after this unbelievable revelation, Agent Kobach had no hard-hitting follow-up questions. He just let her continue to dominate the entire conversation without ever calling her out for such an incredibly disturbing revelation. If I had been on that call, I would have said, "Nicole, why would Chris need to prove to you that he went to Survey 319? I notice you didn't ask him to prove where he was when he went to other survey sites later that same morning. So why would he need to prove to you that he was at survey 319, a location that just happened to be where Chris disposed of his entire family's bodies? You expect me to believe this is a coincidence?
There you go, baby. You're so damn sexy.
7 minutes into her first conversation with law enforcement, Nicole Kessinger tells them she didn't really go to Chris's house. By now, you probably know that's a complete lie. The following day, after Nicole is told they need her cell phone records, she admits she went to his house twice, on the 4th and 14th of July. She goes from barely being able to describe anything she did during her visits to magically remembering in shocking detail what happened, what they discussed, specific details about his house, including the exact amount of his house payment, intimate details about their sex life, and even what she ate. If what Nicole Kessinger said wasn't real life, but some bad Lifetime movie, I'd say this person is one of the most pathological liars I've heard since Jodi Arias. We're 8 minutes into this first interview, and we've encountered the fourth demonstrable lie, because that wasn't even close to one of the only times she went out in public with Chris Watts. Just 6 days after this FBI interview, Detective Kobach calls Nicole Kessinger. Now he has her phone record from Verizon and can estimate her location from call records. Suddenly, she remembers going to Lazy Dog in early July with Chris, their very public trip to the Shelby Museum on July 14th, their trip to the races at Bandimere Speedway, their jaunt to the Morrison Patio Bar, their very public trip to the sand dunes where their own pictures show people all around them, multiple trips to the Oasis, and their clearly not private meal at BJ's restaurant. Her memory somehow works in reverse, dramatically improving over time, always right after law enforcement obtains information about her. There are over 7 hours of audio recordings from Nicole Kessinger, and my notes, just from the lies I was able to definitively prove, are over 50 pages long. I couldn't help but ask, what is Nicole Kessinger hiding? Let me be clear. This woman who downplays the gravity and intimacy of their relationship is the same woman who, within the first few weeks of their relationship, told Chris she wanted to give him his first son. A woman who spent 2 entire hours on August 4th searching Google for wedding dresses, then just 4 days later searched marrying your mistress. This is the same person who, on July 14th, after seeing pictures of Shanann, became so angry that she stormed out and threw a complete tantrum. A fight where she essentially told Chris he needed to choose between her or Shanann. Nicole realizes she can't answer FBI agent Lair's question because she has already deleted all her text messages. In the first 13 minutes of their discussion, she's already admitting to destroying material evidence in a quadruple homicide. The sad reality is that no one in law enforcement ever gave her considerable pushback concerning her choice to destroy material evidence. She didn't just delete all her text messages. She deleted all her pictures, contacts, emails, and anything else that had anything to do with Chris. She also told Chris on August 14th to delete everything off his phone too. On August 14th, 2018, Nicole spent nearly 4 entire hours searching Google for stories related to Chris, Shanann, and news accounts concerning Shanann's disappearance. This is the same day Nicole deletes all her cell phone records and tries to destroy her SIM card. No reasonable person would see those Google searches and conclude there wasn't a concerted effort to hide something from law enforcement. Legally speaking, deleting text messages in relation to a homicide investigation is called obstruction of justice, destruction of evidence, all of which are crimes. Yet from the moment Nicole Kessinger contacted law enforcement, they considered her a protected witness long before they knew if she had any involvement in the crime. Throughout all of Nicole Kessinger's interactions with law enforcement, she was asked numerous times if she ever communicated with Chris using any other applications on her phone. No matter who asked, she never once wavered from stating she never communicated with Chris through anything other than text messages and phone calls. But on August 17th, 2018, Nicole accidentally tells Agent Kobach that she had spoken with Chris over Skype. What do you think Agent Kobach said when she made this accidental, monumental admission? If you guessed absolutely nothing at all, then you guessed correctly. Nicole just told Agent Kobach she communicated with Chris on an app she previously denied ever using, and Agent Kobach has nothing to say. You can use Skype to not only make phone calls, but also to send text messages. So where are Chris and Nicole's Skype records? Do you know what other apps Chris was used? Snapchat, an app you can use to send pictures and messages that very conveniently auto-delete themselves. Look right here in the discovery file. Proof that Chris was using Snapchat on July 20th, 2018, several weeks before he would commit his crimes. So where are the Snapchat records? None of these were requested at any point. What law enforcement requested from Verizon did not provide the detailed GPS data that so many people think they received. The RTT reports they received show that the target phone can be found anywhere along an arc. The information is never exact. Law enforcement could not have obtained detailed GPS location information that would have definitively proved where Nicole was without a massive margin of error. I've read every word of the entire discovery packet, and I don't see any evidence that law enforcement verified when Nicole Kessinger arrived to work on August 13th, 2018. Anadarko has 400 security cameras, nearly 200 of which are outside in their parking lot. Law enforcement could have easily checked those security feeds and proved when she arrived that morning. You might wonder why that matters. On the morning of August 13th, 2018, at 6:16 a.m., Nicole Kessinger's phone pinged in Frederick, Colorado, near the home of Chris Watts, something that to this day, law enforcement has never been able to explain or account for. I was able to conduct my own independent investigation into Nicole Kessinger. What I found in publicly available court records revealed that she was arrested on December 9th, 2006, for underage possession and consumption of alcohol. This was her second offense, and at the time, she was only 19 years old. Somehow, even though she had already received her second charge for underage drinking, her case was completely dismissed. I found additional records showing Nicole was charged with driving without a license and another alcohol-related offense in an adjacent county. Again, this case just goes away too, with no mention of probation or jail time. Somehow Nicole Kessinger appears to commit several crimes and then walks away without any repercussions whatsoever. Law enforcement on August 15th, 2018, requested her criminal background, which means they had every reason to approach their star witness with caution. During my investigation, I received credible information concerning Nicole's prior history. These are allegations that cannot be verified absent the primary parties coming forward, as they allegedly occurred while Nicole was still a minor. The allegations involved Nicole allegedly committing a violent crime with a knife when she was only 16 years old, a crime she was allegedly arrested for, but was again dismissed. Detective Michael Prill's report was the first time any law enforcement agent associated with the Chris Watts investigation had written unfavorable details that directly implicated Nicole Kessinger. The report exposed Nicole for having profusely lied to law enforcement, revealed her damning Google searches, her clear obsession with Chris, and information that completely contradicted her entire narrative. Detective Prill's report was issued on Tuesday, October 30th, 2018, and sent to the Weld County District Attorney's Office. Due to mandatory disclosure rules, all supplemental reports are required to be shared with defense counsel, and it's commonplace that once defense counsel receives new discovery, a copy is shared with the defendant. I would venture that by Friday, November 2nd, Chris Watts likely received a copy of this report. I imagine that as he read Detective Prill's notes, he realized someone within law enforcement was no longer buying the mountain of BS Nicole had been selling, and that someone had finally been able to see through the murky lies Nicole had so carelessly spun. Exactly 1 week after Detective Prill's report was issued, Chris Watts accepted a plea deal that would completely stop the investigation into his horrific crimes. An act he knew would slam the door shut on law enforcement's investigation and end any further need for Nicole Kessinger to continue to lie. As a father, the most impactful part of the entire discovery file was Detective Michael Prill's data report. Throughout the analysis, You could tell he was deeply perturbed by Nicole's actions. He went out of his way to describe Nicole's disturbing and creepy effect, never failing to point out how off-putting her voicemails were. Because Shanann was so much more than the wife of Chris Watts. She was Cece, Bella, and Nico's mother, and everyone who knew her said she was the best mother any child could ever want. She was a daughter, a sister, and a beacon of love, light, and joy to her hundreds of friends and family who love, admire, and miss her dearly. The truth still matters in this case, now more than ever. While we can't bring back Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico, we can honor them and remind the world that they will be remembered, and we will honor them as we continue to advocate for justice. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share why I believe these issues are still so important today. Your willingness to listen and watch this video all the way to the end is such a powerful way to support this channel, because at the heart of everything I do is the desire to passionately advocate for the victims and their families. When you like, comment, and share this video, it helps propel it forward so that even more people will have the opportunity to see it. Please subscribe to the channel because 2 weeks from today, I'm releasing the 3rd installment of this series. Multiple new series will be coming over the next several weeks. I want to thank our Patreon and YouTube supporters. Due to YouTube guidelines, most true crime content is demonetized or restricted. It's because of each of our supporters that I'm able to create this content, and I cannot thank you enough. Finally, at some point in your day, take a moment to reach out to someone important to you and remind them that you love them. Because if I've learned anything about life through these cases, it's that life is short, and we have to take every opportunity to cherish it. This is Dark Trail Files. We'll see you next time.